Hello and welcome to the University of Law. In today's video we're going to be reviewing the 10th Doctor Classic Companions. Now it looks for now like this is the last in our long range of 10th Doctor stories that we've been lucky enough to have had the last 2 years. A run that started with Out of Time. It looks like that's now come to an end. I believe this is the last one that he recorded during lockdown. I'm sure there'll be more in the future. But obviously he's a very in-demand, busy actor, especially at the moment with the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who. So it may be a short while before we see the 10th Doctor back at Big Finish. But as always, what I'm going to do is I'm going to unbox this and talk you through my thoughts on the stories as we go. So quickly on the box set, you can see we've got the Axons here and here. We've got Ace, we've got Nyssa, we've got Leela, and we've got K9. So on the back, we've got, again, the same. It's the first time we've had a 10th Doctor box set with this oil painting treatment. And obviously we've got a version of it on the back with our blurb, titles, writers, and directed by the wonderful Helen Goldwyn. So on the corner, we've got our picture of the 10th Doctor, and we've got our title there as well. Normally with the 10th Doctor releases, we tend to get it with separate discs, separate CDs for each story, but on this occasion it's all in the same box set like most of the other Doctor Who ranges now. If I can get this open, we can start to talk through the various stories that are in this box set. So we've got the same, obviously, again, front and back of the different the front and back, the same artwork front and back. Now if I open it up, so we've got here disc 1 splinters. If I take the disc out, you can see we've got an advert for the Out of Time Saga and also the 10th Doctor River Song. So Splinters kicks the box set off. He meets Leela. It's a wonderful fairy tale story. It sets up the whole idea of the box set of him travelling with K9, trying to heal some of the fallout from the Time War. Some lovely references to Leela's adventures with the War Doctor. It's great to kind of see all that lore linking in the 10th Doctor now to some of the previous Big Finish output. It does something different with Leela. This isn't the Leela that we know, and it doesn't follow the explanation of multiple Leelas that we've seen in previous Time War stories either. So it does something original with Leela, and the villain is highly original. I worked out pretty much from the second I first heard this character who was playing them, and that influenced kind of where I thought the story was going later. But it is a lovely story that kind of plays with the multiverse and the whole idea of the Time War ending the multiverse, as we kind of saw referenced in the Cyberman Origins 2-parter that we got in the 10th Doctor's first series on television. So it's a really good story, wonderful chemistry between the 10th Doctor and Leela. It's great to hear him call her Savage, like the 4th Doctor used to do. A lovely reference there. A really natural relationship and a really good, solid and just fun story. It had a really lovely fairy tale feel to it. You could just imagine it as you were listening. So wonderful opening to the box set. In this compartment we've got a booklet, we've got a picture of all the cast, we've got the credits there, and we've got our titles and synopsises in there. If I open up to the next compartment, we've got the Stuntman. I haven't listened to the short trip with Nyssa in the Time War. I'm not sure if I showed you what the credits on the back as well of the booklet. It links back to I think there are references I didn't quite get because I haven't listened to the short trips of Nyssa in the Time War with the 8th Doctor, but I think it definitely, there were some references to that. I think if you'd listened to that, it would have enriched the experience. But while I was conscious of it, it didn't ruin my enjoyment. I really enjoyed it. Another good chemistry between the 10th Doctor and Nyssa. It really develops Nyssa's character. As I've said before, the Master takes over her dad's body, and it's not really referenced ever again. But this plays around with that. And what's great about this story, though, is what it does with K9, because it gives John Leeson, who's a wonderful actor, a really great chance to really get his teeth into a dimension of K9 we've literally never ever seen before. So a really original story. And in the same way that Leela isn't quite how we remember her, and there's also an imposter syndrome around Nyssa initially as well. So that seems to be a thread of this box set. The companions aren't always what they seem. However, by the end of it, it is our old familiar Nyssa back, which is kind of, I won't give too much away, but it's kind of a reverse of the journey we got in the last story. Finally, the Quantum of Axos, which is a really, I mean, for a start, it works as a lovely sequel to the Claws of Axos. There's even a reference to the claws, as in like a legal claws of Axos in there, which I wish they'd called it actually, which is a nice little, homage to the Santa Claus films with Tim Allen. It's a lovely sequel to Claws of Axos. Doesn't really reference the previous Big Finish Axos story that had the Sixth Doctor, because obviously that was quite a worthy sequel as well, but they both work independently without contradicting. So yeah, lovely story. Again, there's the imposter syndrome with Ace, in that we get, first of all, Ace is very different. She's grown up. She wants to be called Dorothy now. She's very different, and she goes on a journey because she's rejected who she was. There's obviously, if you've listened to the Time War Gallifrey stuff, you'll know that she's been dumped back by Braxiatel, but she doesn't quite know that that's happened, and the Doctor doesn't know either. So there's a bit of ambiguity there, because the listener knows, but the characters themselves don't know what's happened there. There's some lovely references to Sarah Jane as well, who sadly is no longer with us. I'm sure she'd have done some stuff with David Tennant had she still been with us. So that's really good to have. But yes, there's an imposter syndrome in terms of Ace has developed as a character, but she continues to become at ease with herself by the end of this story. But there's also an Axos who takes the form of young Ace, and we kind of see an imposter there as well. And it links, and it feels very much like School Reunion. Not only do we have the reference to Sarah Jane, but also there's the whole concept of the Doctor can have her back young again as he remembers her. But the fact is he affirms the fact that he doesn't mind his companions growing up and moving on, because that's a part of life, and he respects the fact that they grow beyond him. So yeah, it's a lovely sequel to Claws of Axos. Lovely use of the character of Ace. Many of you will know that Ace is returning to television for the BBC Centenary special next month, and because she's already met the 13th Doctor in a book, there is a reference to the fact that she's met a future Doctor, and the 10th Doctor says to say no more about it. So that's great, because it means that it doesn't contradict anything on television. So both this, the book, the television, they all fit quite nicely with each other in that same universe. And finally, we have another School Reunion style ending, whereby the Doctor leaves this K9 with Ace, and then he carries on with his travels in time and space. I did initially think that this box set might take place during his final tour, when he was about to regenerate and he visited all his old companions, but it actually takes place prior to End of Time. So he's not about to regenerate, which I think is quite nice. It means that, because I think in terms of that, to have met all of them and had a whole adventure might have been a struggle when he was in the middle of regeneration, but just to look at all of them, I think that works. But with this, he gets a full adventure because it's set that bit earlier. It says on the bonus features there's no plans for a second volume, but hopefully at some point they may do it with some other companions like Joe, for example. Just to finish off, we've got an advert for the Dalek Universe Saga and his first 3 volumes of adventures with Big Finish. So, really nice box set. It is a fun, nostalgic box set, because obviously you've got the 10th Doctor meeting his old companions. It's just a fun mishmash, mix-up of Doctor Who. But also each story in itself is a really good, solid, standalone story. So, faultless box set, I'd absolutely recommend. As always, if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I look forward to speaking to you soon.